Hello and welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. I'm your host, Bryant Meza, and I am in the upper left side of the USA here at No Li Brewhouse. And I'm joined with the owner, John Bryant. Thank you so much for joining me today, John.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks
Yes,
for
I'm
having No
super
Li.
excited. Yes, of course, super
Yeah.
excited. You guys are Spokane locals, have been around for years to come. You guys are kind of known as the hometown hopefuls. And I kind of wanted to ask you, what was your whole vision of bringing No Li to life here in Spokane?
No Li's really a reflection of Spokane, and it's one of the stories of Spokane that we help can build confidence and pride. My wife's family was sponsored by the St. Al's Church on Gonzaga campus in 1917.
Nice, okay.
From Naples, Italy. And they came through Ellis Island, and they ended up here in 1917 and have been a big part of the community ever since then. You know, my mom and dad both went to Eastern. My dad played football out there on a scholarship.
Go Eagles, awesome.
Go Eagles, yeah. And so we've always had a fondness and love for what Spokane was, is, and what hopefully we can be a part of the goodness of it. And the vision really was, you know, when we started the brewery, you know, I'd already been in the business over 25 years and helped be a part of many companies, helped build craft breweries. And it's a journey. And what I've really learned about community, and if you're building a brand or a brewery, it takes years and years, successes and failures, till you're really tested in the grind. And in that grind, where sometimes you just want to quit in life, be it whatever it is, you really dig in and you find who you are, and you define what the brand of No Li is, and you define what the beers of No Li, and as importantly, our people and our culture.
Yeah, definitely.
And in these difficult times that we have right now, economically, politically, civil unrest, COVID, it's an important time to try to find that balance, that compass. And it's not always comfortable.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
But you do your best. And I think having been through a lot of journeys in the industry, in Spokane and in beer, I think it's positioned us well to try to be something of strength.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely.
our hope.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And you kind of mentioned like the brand and the ups and downs of the company and how you kind of shaped your brand within Spokane. But I feel like No Li really has shaped the brand of brewing in general and in Spokane really well, especially with other brewery companies like Ya Brewing Company and like Lumber Beer and stuff like that. Do you feel like No Li kind of paved the path to these other brewing companies to start up in Spokane?
I think hopefully we're paving a way out front in the community. We're a servant of the community. We serve this community. We learn from this community. And I think No Li represents a network, a patchwork, a fabric of a lot of different organizations and companies. And just an example would be when COVID started and the city of Spokane wasn't quite ready to have their cafeteria system set up. My wife works with trauma kids at Logan Elementary, right by GU.
Wow, okay.
And they were going to have without meals for a week. So we mobilized with our chef Avant Grant and all of our people to create really a commissary of our kitchen, and created 1,100 meals that week that we personally distributed. And I want to give a shout out to Christy from Ultimate Bagel right across from Jack and Dan. She stepped up, another 200 meals, and we were able really to take care of the children, the families of Logan. But the biggest learning curve of that, they took care of us. And I mean that very sincerely, that people in our kitchen at No Li, a very deep, important part of who we are, they're the ones that brought the food and served it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's one thing to be on the giving side. It's another thing to be on the receiving side. Takes humility on both parts. Our kitchen had some staff that always maybe been on the receiving side. And this gave them the opportunity to give back.
Yeah.
And that is so empowering for people to know you have the power and the ability to give to others, even no matter what your situation is. You always have you'll find something, a little deed.
Yes.
You know, from there, that connected us to Marcus Riccelli, our House representative, and he got us involved in Big Table, which he's a part of. That got us involved in Spokane Food Fighters.
Yeah.
Marcus started Spokane Food Fighters, which feeds families and children that can't get to the food bank.
Yeah.
So with our community, we were able to rally over $40,000 in a short period of time to help get Spokane Food Fighters off the ground.
Yeah.
So he could go do, with his group of people, a big service. You know, that in turn, it's just these community links. Lance Kistler, who's, you know, a director at the Spokane Human Rights Commission, we've become friends, and we were able to team up with him for the month of June, which is Pride Month.
Yeah, definitely.
And raising money for Odyssey Youth Movement or the LGBTQ movement.
Yeah.
But right then, that racial strife with Black Lives Matter and the civil unrest happened.
Exactly.
And the learning curve here was, you know, we felt we didn't have the background of Black Lives Matter just to jump in all of a sudden and do things. So we wanted to get in and really do some learning, some education,
Some intentional
and
actions,
some hard work.
yeah.
So, working with Frida over at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Center, who was connected by Lance Kistler and Representative Michelli, we engaged them. And so we used the month of June during some real deep strife in our society to educate what Juneteenth was.
Exactly.
And I didn't have a full understanding of what Juneteenth was, but it's emancipation of slavery in Galveston, Texas, 2 years after the Civil War.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people really knew that. And so we, created a pint glass for Dr. King, and we raised money, for the center as well as, for Odyssey Youth Movement. But those are a patchwork from Logan Elementary and the principal there to Marcus Riccelli, our House Representative, to Spokane Food Fighters, to Big Table, to the MLK Center and Odyssey Youth Movement. And in that process, it's not only giving money, but you're trying really hard to learn. So it's very humbling.
Definitely.
And then you elevate people. What we can do through our social media, our promotion, with dignity and respect, and bring more awareness.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
So that's just part of, it
the
takes a lot of hard work
aspect.
from a lot of people.
Yes, definitely. That's awesome. I love that community aspect that you guys are partnering with other organizations around Spokane. And that's a big word. Just, I feel like a lot of us right now need hope. We were talking about that earlier, just the hope that we need in our lives. Just with the Black Lives Matter movement you're talking about. I noticed that you guys have very inclusive things here at No Li. You have your Pride pint glasses, your Juneteenth pint glasses, as you mentioned, and you guys started a Stay Strong Together movement as well here at No Li. What are you guys doing to continue that hope, giving each other and the community hope during this time of COVID and all of the movements?
Hope is humbling. It takes a lot of hard work. It's not just shouting it from the mountaintops, but it's getting your hands dirty.
Yes.
It's painful at times. Hope is that you can see forward. My mom and dad are both from pretty tough backgrounds. And our family, my grandparents were supported by government programs. So I know what that can do to give you a chance. And I feel every day an obligation to take that and be able to pass it forward in a higher way. And that's hope, like opening ways for other people to achieve their dream or whatever that happens to be. Hope is that, just looking forward. We tend to choose working with individuals or organizations in our community that are on the fringes. There's sometimes what we call maybe the less attractive charities that don't get that much attention. Kind of dark when you really get into the deep substance. My wife's a CASA, she's a child advocate in the courts.
Awesome.
And there's some really tough stories. I can't hear a lot of them because they're just too much turmoil.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know if we do it correctly, and we're not perfect, right? We stumble and we fall our way through as we learn. We can raise money, but we can raise community awareness, and we can put them on a pedestal and say, this is really a great organization. And I think when the Malden and the Pine City fires happened earlier this summer, just tragic news. We were able to go visit right shortly after the fires, and you saw tragedy. And we kind of jumped into motion and go, we got to do something. We don't want to stand here and be idle. So with a community, we put up $25,000, and we just said we're looking for a match to help this cause. And 100% of the monies go right to these families through the United Way as they set up an organization to disperse it, which we're still working on. We raised $50,000 in 4 days.
Wow.
And then raised another 30 to 80. And
that's awesome.
That's the power of a community. Now we have a responsibility to make sure that $80,000 is distributed in a way with no administration fees. We got to get it to the people in a responsible way so it does help. And that's the second half of this, which can get really complicated. I've learned through, you want to do the right thing, but that can also open up other things. And I always say we're not perfect. We stumble, but we're trying to stumble forward, and maybe we can help engage and take initiative, and people can either follow, go side by side, or as we've learned from those organizations we talked about earlier, we follow them.
Exactly.
We follow the MLK Doctor Center, we follow the Human Rights Commission, we follow Spokane Food Fighters, Big Table, Logan Elementary. We learned from them. We were maybe just an initiative piece that helped bring more people together. And
provide that kind of publicity towards it. That's awesome. Wow. And I know you guys take great pride in elevating that community here. Whether it's in No Li, in this building, or even just outside in this Spokane community. So that's awesome. I really love that. And I know you guys really just take great pride in your brewing as well. You guys are doing great. You just won a gold medal for your Cascade Fog over in England, you said? Awesome. How was that whole process and competing at competitions like that?
Well, the community fabric is what gets a lot of us up in the morning. You have to somehow build a successful organization in a community that can create some type of wealth or profit, so you're able to then choose what you do with it. And I've always been taught that you can measure an organization by what they do with wealth created. You can measure their true intentions by their actions and their behaviors. You can talk about what you do or you're going to do or how you're going to do it, but truly, how you spend money and where you send that money, be it full benefits for full-time staff or above living wages, giving back in the community, but also actively. I mean, that demonstrates that's what we're trying to be at No Li. And I say we're not perfect because we're learning our way through that process as well. Part of that, you have to make really amazing beer, and that's our pursuit every day, is to get better. And so we've sent our beers around the world to some of the most, they are the most prestigious contests you can get into.
I'm sure.
And we've won over 30 international medals here in Spokane,
that's
USA.
Big time.
And that was a big part of getting the Spokane style, the moniker, the logo, essentially trademarked. It is a legally by the federal government, a recognized symbol, like Better Business or Napa Valley Wines.
Yeah, exactly.
If it says Napa Valley, it has to come from Napa Valley region.
Yeah, and you know what that is.
And you know what that is. If it says Spokane style, that means it was made in Spokane with Spokane regional ingredients, with people employed in Spokane. It's a Spokane style product.
Yeah.
And so when we were able to gain approval of that federally recognized designation, we didn't take it for ourselves. We just opened it up and said, anybody in this community who does Spokane style, use that logo, and let's build a Napa Valley of Spokane.
That's awesome.
What we're trying to, we talk about paving the way, we want the world to know, Spokane to know, and the Northwest to know that some of the best beers in the world are brewed right here.
Yeah.
Right here in Spokane. And part of winning that gold medal in England last month for Cascade Fog Hazy, that was a big, big international contest. And we brought it home to Spokane to our community.
Yeah.
We also won a silver for Red, White, and Hazy at the same contest.
And how many entries did you say there were?
2,100.
2,100. Wow.
So
you guys came up on top.
Yeah. So, and that just speaks to our community, it speaks of our people, it speaks of the upside of Spokane.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like something that No Li is doing that not a lot of brewing companies are doing is you're bringing your beer to stores.
Yes.
You guys provide cans, as we have in the background. And you're able to purchase it at a grocery store as well. You don't have to physically be in the brew house to get it.
Right.
How has that kind of escalated No Li Brewhouse as a brand?
Yeah, from the start, I'd been in the business, 25 plus years before we started.
Yeah.
I've been making and part of beer for 25 years before we started No Li. And in those experiences, you kind of realize how important it is, as we sell beer around just Idaho and Washington only. But we need to get beer in the stores so people can buy it at a Safeway and Albertsons, a convenience store. So early on, we've been working on this and investing and spending and traveling to these store corporate levels. Weekends, this is a 90-hour-a-week gig for a while.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
And we were able to get our hard seltzer brands, Day Fade Hard Seltzer, and then our Juicy, our Born and Raised, our Hazy brands, Amber, Wrecking Ball, into grocery stores. So when the pandemic started and people weren't able to go out and drink, say, at a bar, they shipped to grocery, our brands were there.
That's perfect.
So we were in a fortunate situation, timed to be okay during the pandemic.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And I feel like, I know One Tree Cider House has started doing that with their cider. They're also in grocery stores as well. And you mentioned your seltzer.
Yeah.
I know not a lot of people do that as well. How has that been? I know you kind of grew up in the brewing company and learning that whole process. How was that kind of a switch mentality of trying to make your own seltzers?
It's amazing. Early on the craft beer, I think it was frowned upon to do a seltzer.
Yeah.
And what we said was, this is all about lab analytics. This is all about chemistry. This is all about creation of a beverage. It's very difficult. It is harder to make an amazing hard seltzer than a beer.
I'm sure.
The filtration process is 5 to 6 steps. The investment level is really high.
Yeah.
The lab analysis you have to do all the way through the process is incredible.
Yeah.
What making hard seltzer allowed us to do was to make better beer.
Okay.
Because we took all those very fine-tuned pieces and then we borrowed them into our beer making process and improved how we did, which I believe that the gold medal and the silver medal in England at the World Beer Championships was because of the hard seltzer.
Okay.
Because the slight improvements we had to make to be able to do a hard seltzer allowed us, when we took it over to beer, to tweak some processes, made us better.
Yeah. Definitely.
So culturally then, it became exciting because it's hard to make. It takes a big financial investment. You need a lot of laboratory backup and a lot of chemistry to understand a lot of pieces of it. and it's doing very well. We have the Dayfade Huckleberry,
Yeah.
Dayfade Mango.
That one's Huckleberry is my favorite one.
Yeah,
I love the Huckleberry.
Dayfade Black Cherry, and we'll be coming with a lemonade Huckleberry.
Oh,
a lemonade
nice.
one
I will
in
be
about
here
March.
once that comes out.
Yeah.
March, okay.
Yeah, we have
Awesome.
a test pilot brew on tap right now. We're doing a series of pilot brews. It'll take 6 months to nail it. But that progress was well over a year to 2 years in the making to be able to launch that hard seltzer.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that gives you an upper hand to compete with like White Claw, Trulies, and stuff like that. All these other brands that are just coming out with seltzers kind of gives you a way in the fight, I guess, and kind of building that community as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really obsessed with the community build that you've created here in Spokane. You guys should be very proud. And you guys have the rightful name of the hometown hopefuls, most definitely.
Well, we have to do a shout out to the community because
Yeah.
I mean, we don't exist unless we serve a community. We don't exist unless the community embraces us back.
Uh-huh.
And then the full, the way I was taught as a younger person, the full circle back is how you respond with that privilege.
I just want to thank you again for the community building that you're doing here and wish you the best of luck going forward.
Awesome.
Thank you so much
Take
for
care.
joining. Yes,
Thank
that's
you,
all the
everybody.
time we have today here on the Pulse of Spokane. I'm your host, Bryant Meza. Have a great day.